chaser?
Alan, I said you could do it, and you did. You had belief in yourself, and you played really, really well. Now, I had a feeling this wasn't going to end well for me, and it turned out to be a feeling that was right.
Well, what can I say other than congratulations to Alan? 5 attempts to push back, 3 executed, chaser needed 2. Brilliant stuff. Well played, Alan. Could you be the chaser, just like Alan? Come and have a go. You might be clever enough. We'll see you next time on The Chase. Goodbye.
Tonight on One News, demand for Rotorua's Motel Mile to be investigated amid allegations of intimidation and prison-like conditions for some of our most vulnerable. We hear from the charity running some of the city's emergency housing. An urgent manhunt in Canada for those responsible for multiple deadly stabbings. At least 10 are killed in a rampage spanning 13 locations. Why the police are now coming under fire. Plus, the classic cars getting a clean makeover. These old beauties are going electric, giving them a whole new lease on life. How much they cost to convert. Kia ora, good evening. There are urgent calls tonight from both National and Te Pāti Māori to investigate the government agencies and contractors dealing with Rotorua's emergency housing. It follows an exclusive report from TVNZ's Sunday program into the conditions some of our most vulnerable are living in. Clients of the charity Visions of a Helping Hand have alleged intimidation, negligence and abuse of power by staff and subcontracted security workers. Kristen Hall reports.
Harrowing allegations from some of our most vulnerable.
I'm getting pushed out of my house and there's nowhere for me to go.
The government knew about it and says it has no concerns.
The minister had some time ago concerns and some allegations raised. She immediately, as I understand, followed up with appropriate agencies to gain assurances from the likes of police.
Whistleblowers have alleged government-contracted emergency housing provider Visions of a Helping Hand has kicked vulnerable women and children out of their homes, and there are a raft of concerning allegations against subcontracted security company Tigers Express Security, both led by local man Tiny Dean.
Well, I think all Kiwis would be absolutely appalled by those heartbreaking scenes of emergency housing in Rotorua. We're calling for an independent investigation.
The Māori Party is also calling for an inquiry describing the emergency housing situation in Rotorua as an absolute train wreck. Current and former Tigers Express security workers are concerned about alleged prison-like conditions at motels.
We were ordered to go to their rooms and search their cars. It's a breach of their privacy.
Well, what's the government's oversight of all of those providers that we need to be able to understand?
The Visions board says allegations against Tigers Express security staff are unsubstantiated and the charity's actions, including kicking women and babies out of their homes, are justified.
I just don't understand how you can justify doing that.
We try and maintain a drug-free, an alcohol-free and a violence-free environment. Because of the sheer numbers that we deal with, we have to ensure that we maintain the integrity of that. If you worked in this environment and had to deal with what we have to deal with, you would understand.
Housing Minister Megan Woods refused a further interview but says she got a QC to check whether the ministry could be doing more about emergency housing clients' complaints, and that the draft finding is the ministry's taken reasonable steps based off the information at the time.
Definitely work over and above to help these whānau as best as we can.
Strongly disputed by some who've been under Vision's care. Kristen Hall, One News.
And head over to our website, onenews.co.nz, where Kristen delves deeper into the Rotorua emergency housing crisis and the people it affects. Gang members who hide their assets by giving them to family and friends are being told their time is up. The government's announced it's changing the law so police can seize items like bikes and cars if gang associates can't prove they purchased them legally. Political editor Jessica Much-Mackay explains.
Some gang members are keen to flaunt their bikes and bling, but if they get in trouble with the law, they hand them over to friends and family so they're not seized.
Time is up. You no longer have the opportunity to be able to do this.
New powers for police are on the way to seize the property of gang associates if they can't prove they were bought legitimately. Confiscations would kick in on items above $30,000.
If you're thinking about the gangsters that are driving around in the ill-gotten gains, you know, whether those big cars or the Harleys or whatnot, Those bikes are expensive. Those cars are expensive. They I had a little look today, in excess of $40,000, $50,000.
But the Police Association says officers shouldn't have to scrap over the value of goods.
You know, things like that Harley Davidson that's worth less than $30,000 is still saying to young people in those communities, you want to get an asset like this, join a gang. We want it to be the opposite, to say, you join a gang, you won't be able to have an asset like this.
National says the government's trying to look tough on crime.
After 4.5 years, we see the government scrambling with an out-of-control gang problem.
Why are you only just acting on this now?
It's a technical area of law that's required a significant amount of engagement.
In other changes, criminals based overseas will have 2 months to prove assets here were bought legitimately. And the government's planning to tidy up a loophole to stop people being able to hide money in KiwiSaver.
Look, I think people are more worried about gangs shooting at them than they are about them using KiwiSaver for hiding stuff.
In our latest One News Kantar public poll last month, only 14% of people think the government is doing enough to deal with gangs.
Numbers it'll be keen to change before next year's election. Jessica Mackay, One News.
Police in Canada are hunting for 2 men after a deadly mass stabbing that's shocked the nation. At least 10 people were killed and 15 injured across an Indigenous community in the province of Saskatchewan. As they search a vast area, police are defending their response to one of Canada's worst ever mass killings. US correspondent Anna Burns-Francis reports.
The quiet rural peace of the James Smith Cree Nation, an Indigenous community shattered by a heinous crime.
Breaking news this evening, at least 10 people are dead and 15 others injured in a string of stabbings.
25 victims, some targeted, some random, attacked at 13 different crime scenes across the Saskatchewan province in Canada.
One of the worst mass killings in recent years in this country.
On the run, the 2 men police say are responsible, Damien Sanderson and Miles Sanderson.
Given the fact that they are in a vehicle, we can't say with 100% certainty where they are right now.
One of the men spotted by locals in the town of Weldon before fleeing.
It looked like his coat over his face, and he said, I need somebody to take me to the hospital. My mouth has been hurt. He said, I've been stabbed and my mouth has been hurt. And I said, well, let's see. And he says, no, it's real bad. I can't show you.
It was before dawn when the first reports of stabbings came into police. 90 minutes later, after multiple reports, police issued the first dangerous persons alert, telling residents to shelter in place. Not long after, the identity of the 2 suspects is released. But it's nearly 2 hours later before police send another alert, revealing there are multiple victims and multiple crime scenes. By lunchtime, a sighting of the suspects more than 300 kilometres away. Police are facing criticism for not reacting quickly enough, taking too long to piece together the multiple incoming reports from victims.
We are asking residents across Saskatchewan and our neighbouring provinces to be vigilant.
Police from neighbouring districts have been called in to help with the search.
People will know. People will see these folks. Somebody will be contacted. Phone it in. Phone it in and let the police know where they are, because that intelligence is going to be very important.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tonight calling the attacks horrific and heartbreaking and urging locals to keep a close eye for updates. But it'll be an uneasy night on the First Nations reserves as locals wonder why and how such a brutal crime could be committed. Anna Burns-Francis, One News, New York.
The founder of Gloria Vale was a bully, and his cruel treatment became ingrained in the West Coast commune. That's according to Virginia Courage, a former resident giving evidence at the employment court. She says bullying is rife at Gloria Vale, and it started with the late hopeful Christian.
Bullying and mocking people in Gloria Vale is such a part of the culture. I was part of it when I was there. And you're desensitised to it. It's something that you don't realise how wrong it is.
She says children growing up in Gloria Vale are being told they owe their life to hopeful Christian, and that meant working at all costs. The hearing is to decide whether residents are employees or volunteers. It was almost eradicated earlier this year, but Mycoplasma bovis has spread again, with 3 farms now infected with the disease. The latest property in mid-Canterbury was identified through routine testing on Friday. The Ministry for Primary Industries says the discovery isn't unexpected and it's likely there'll be more. MPI also confirmed the outbreak isn't widespread and says we're in the tail end of eradication. Since 2018, almost $230 million has been spent on the program that's seen 178,000 cattle culled and more than 270 properties cleared of the disease. The Prime Minister has announced she'll be heading to New York next week to meet with world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly. On the agenda, the Christchurch Call to Action, which aims to limit extremist content online in the wake of the March 15 attacks. She'll also hold trade talks and try to entice tourists to New Zealand. Ukraine is also set to be a hot topic for the world leaders during the week-long meeting. Now, it may be spring, but you might want to hold off putting away the winter woolies. A storm system is gripping much of the country right now and it's bringing torrential rain, even snow. Let's bring in our meteorologist Dan Corbett for the latest. What do people need to know, Dan?
Well, this one could catch some people up because we're going to have snow pretty far north for parts of the North Island, not just down south. And say, when I say North Island, Central Plateau. If you're going over the Central Plateau tonight, heads up. Big swirl of cloud. We're bringing in cold air from well down in the Southern Ocean. That blob of blue there. Cold, meet the moisture, and that causes trouble, in particular with this wind-up of an area of low pressure working in. We go in close. See that blob of white? That's the Central Plateau. That is snow. We get in, and it's going to about midnight or so. That's where we stand that risk for this thing as it spreads its way in. The cold air coming in. See that orange box? That is the snow watch. A decent amount, 10 to as much as 35 centimetres. Taihape, Topo, and Southern Hawke's Bay. That zone right away through the Gisborne Ranges. But let's run this thing into motion. That is all rain, strong south to southeasters, and south of Topo, look at that blob of white. That is the snow. Desert Road, Napier Topo. That will track through. The whole thing goes away in the morning, but if you're travelling over the Central Plateau tonight and even some of the South Island roads, watch for the risk of some snow, and it's going to feel cold as well. Winter's not done.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. More than 200 staff at the Auckland University of Technology may lose their jobs in the first proposal of its kind in over 20 years at the tertiary institution. AUT has seen a fall in international students since the pandemic, and domestic enrolments are down due to the booming employment market. It's proposing to cut 230 jobs from its over 4,000 staff. Admin and support operations will be reviewed, and a small number of declining programs may be closed as part of the proposal. The cost of living crisis and COVID have surprisingly had little impact on Kiwis giving to charity. Some record figures are in, showing a jump in what people leave in their wills, with a new generation also parting with cash for a good cause. Donna Marie Lever explains.
COVID killed the days of bucket shaking. But even against the odds, we're still digging deep for charity.
Kiwis are the second most generous nation per capita globally, behind only the United States. So we are a very generous group of people.
A new report by Perpetual Guardian shows $288 billion was gifted in philanthropic grants over the past 6 years, and charitable collections have grown too.
Given the economic situation at the moment, I did think we would be down this year with our poppy collection, but as it turned out, we weren't. And it does show the generosity of New Zealanders that still are out there supporting good causes.
Good causes seeing a lift in the value of single donations.
In the past, where we might have had $2 coins, $1 coins, 50-cent coins, now we're seeing a large number of notes.
We're seeing a big increase in the number of philanthropic legacies that people are leaving in their wills, and we're also seeing a massive increase in the number of small donations that we're getting through platforms the likes of Give a Little.
Give a Little has had another record year with almost $38 million in donations. That's around $100,000 every single day, with younger people more likely to pledge on the platform.
So Generation Z, millennial generation, they're doing a lot more donating than they used to in the past.
And traditional charities have also joined the move online.
So we have had to look at things like all sorts of digital aspects of collection. FPOS, we have QR codes, etc. You're starting to see that work.
Mental health and health-based charities are popular picks as the public continues to give to keep their chosen cause alive. Donna Marie Lever, One News.
New Zealand's critically endangered little green parrot should see a boost in its numbers this summer. The Christchurch Wildlife Trust hopes to release more than 100 young kakariki karaka, or orange-fronted green parrots, into the Arthur's Pass National Park. Corazon Miller has more.
It's our rarest forest bird, a little parakeet which has long been in danger.
It's been declared extinct twice.
Surviving populations were found deep in the Nelson and Canterbury forests, bringing them back from the brink. But in the early 1800s, the orange-fronted kakariki population was thriving.
They would come out and actually eat crops around the Christchurch, Canterbury area and feed on crops. So they were quite widely dispersed. But as the predator numbers built up, they've been pushed further and further back into the high country.
In 2016, with a population of just 200, they were declared a nationally critical species.
We are struggling to find viable populations of these birds. So at the moment, if you like, we're in intensive care.
6 years on, the population has almost doubled, but the battle for survival is ongoing.
The numbers are slowly going up year on year. Still quite a long way to go for these guys. Climate change is going to have an impact on species like orange fronts because predators will survive their more mild winters.
Real numbers game.
Yeah. This Christchurch sanctuary is hoping to boost numbers in the wild. It plans to release 100 young kakariki in the Hordern Valley in Arthur's Pass this summer.
Gosh, it's a real labour of love, isn't it?
That's really significant because they got to the point where if Isaac Conservation hadn't stepped in, those birds would have been extinct.
Obviously, dealing with critically endangered species and the environments we have around the country, there can be some challenges. But overall, we're definitely making good progress.
And giving New Zealand's tiny green parrot a fighting chance. Corazon Miller, One News.
Whaiakene coming up, a dramatic crash on a busy Sydney street. An emergency vehicle caught up in its own drama as a tram crashes close to foot traffic on a central city road. Plus a shocking revelation from our Emmy-winning choreographer, why Paris Goebel's win is so special to her.
And then on 7 Sharp, how construction companies have found a better way to build, all thanks to supply shortages. Plus, has the bad weather meant your dog is driving you around the bend? The tips to keeping your best friend happy while they're stuck inside.
And an activist turned artist opens up. Join us tonight at 7 Sharp. Don't be late.
Celebrity Treasure Island is back.
What am I doing here?
New celebrities.
They are going to be in fear of me.
New challenges. Anything could happen. New alliances.
Do you think our mics are in range? No.
New pressure.
I don't know how to deal with it. I have to do this.
And new surprises.
The biggest twist in Treasure Island history.
Clearly, at this point, we have gone off script.
Expect the unexpected.
New Celebrity Treasure Island starts tonight on 2 and on TVNZ+.
This is a different way to buy a home. With KiwiBank, you can team up with a sister, friends, extended whānau, or your workmates, neighbours, friends, son. Okay, maybe not just anyone. This is helping more Kiwi into their own home. This is Ko-Own from KiwiBank.
My name is James Riley. I'm a Hyundai Pinnacle Program graduate. Ever since I was 12, I just had to know how things work. So every day I disappeared down a new rabbit hole of knowledge. Humans actually built an electric car years before the internal combustion engine. We just didn't know what we know now. One of the solutions is all around us: hydrogen. A hydrogen fuel cell actually cleans the air it travels through. I like to interrogate information until it confesses. You have to go down some rabbit holes if you want to get to Wonderland. I'm positive about our future. Gandhi once said we must honour the change we want to see. What change do you want to see?
Time flows like a river, and it seems as if each of us is carried relentlessly along by time's current. But time is like a river in another way. It flows at different speeds in different places, and that is the key to traveling into the future.
morning skin is the best skin, but it loses plumpness throughout the day. Try this. Unlike regular collagen, it's easily absorbed. New Olay Collagen Peptide. Plump and bouncy skin all day long.
With a TSB home loan, you'll get a lower rate because we'll beat any ANZ, ASB, BNZ or Westpac nationally advertised fixed home loan rate. Talk to us today and feel good about supporting New Zealand.
At Spotlight, save more at our massive 20 to 50% off store-wide sale, plus doorbuster deals like selected Emerald Hill duvet cover sets from $10 and Cool Elite weighted blankets from $40. So you can throw it, make it and roll it for less. Sale on now, open till 8 p.m. At Spotlight, it's what you make it.
Free your mind in the all-new S-Cross from Suzuki. Bold on the outside, enlightened on the inside. Make it yours today.
Never miss a moment with endless data, calls, texts and hotspotting on all Vodafone Endless mobile plans. This is a little extra to make life a little easier. When you take out a home loan with KiwiBank, you could get 1% of your loan in cash, up to $10,000. Search KiwiBank Home Loans today.
No, my Hawkeye, my welcome back. The ACT Party says it'll get tough on addicts who are unemployed and receiving benefits by sending them to rehab. But one former addict says there aren't enough places to go for rehab and the benefit can help people to get clean. Senior political reporter Benedict Collins has more.
Grant Foster knows firsthand about substance abuse.
Started out with alcohol as a young person, as most people do, progressed into cannabis and eventually got into morphine.
Eventually he got help, got off the benefit and into work. He spent the last 20 years helping others.
In those days you could stay on the benefit even though you cleaned up for a short time to get yourself stabilised.
Now the ACT Party wants to force the few thousand job seekers with substance abuse disorders into rehab.
They should have an obligation to seek treatment if they're receiving government money and sitting on a benefit.
For those who don't comply, there's the threat of sanctions.
They're people, and we can't forget about them just because they're a little number. They deserve better.
Yeah, but along with this, you're kind of threatening these people as well, right? You're saying if you don't go into treatment, we're going to cut your benefit.
But there's always consequences in life, right? And we can't keep living life with no consequences.
The government says the number of people on a benefit with addiction issues is falling and ACT's policy isn't needed.
We already have a sanctions regime that means if people are not engaging with their work obligations, that is available to a frontline worker.
There are around 4,000 people on a benefit because of a substance abuse disorder. For around half, that substance is alcohol. Experts say our addiction treatment services are already under enormous pressure, and for ACT's plan to fly, it would need enormous investment.
Already the publicly funded treatment programs, mental health services are overwhelmed. If you were to ring up and try and get a place in treatment now, you might have to wait 6 to 8 weeks if you're lucky.
So what is ACT proposing to spend here?
We haven't actually talked about the budget around that.
If the ACT Party was serious about supporting people who are currently experiencing harm because of substance abuse, they would be promoting more resources in place for the treatments and the kind of support that we know it works.
ACT's big new plan, a little short on detail. Benedict Collins, One News.
The fight for pay rises that match the 7.3% inflation rate continues, with 200 packaging workers striking in the rain today. Employees from Visiboard, Charter Packaging and Opal Kiwi Packaging have joined forces to call for an increase in pay. Air 2 Union says many work between 60 and 70 hours a week just to survive. Workers at Visiboard and Charter Packaging also want overtime rates to kick in after 40 hours rather than the current 50 hours. The Coast Guard in Seattle is searching for up to 9 people after a plane crashed into waters near the northwestern US city. Witnesses report seeing the seaplane nosedive mid-afternoon. One body was recovered from near the crash site. It's believed 10 people were on the flight, including a child. 2 people have been taken to hospital in Sydney after a collision between a fire truck and a light rail tram. The two crashed in the CBD just before midday, with the impact derailing the tram by several metres. A woman in her 70s received chest injuries. A man in his 40s was also hurt. Two busy city roads are still partially closed, and the crash isn't expected to be cleared for another 2 hours. Pakistan's climate change minister says the devastating flooding in her country shows that richer nations have broken their emissions promises. Sherry Rehman says industrialised countries must pay reparations to countries facing the consequences of global warming. It's estimated 30 million people are affected by Pakistan's floods, with many districts still cut off. The BBC's Farhad Javed reports from one of those, Balochistan.
Shocked, shattered and starving, the fight for survival gets harder. Abbas and his cousin have just been rescued from a village that has been cut off for days.
The rains destroyed everything. Then all my equipment was washed away by the flood. My house was razed to the ground. I still have the key of my shop. I don't have the courage to throw it away. It was my bread and butter.
This is the province of Balochistan, almost half the country's total land and the least developed. Fields, usually used as farmland, now completely submerged in water. And people run after aid, even if it means putting their lives in danger.
What we are seeing here is complete destruction. Everything these people owned is destroyed. Every bit of their land, every piece of their belonging is gone with the water.
Military helicopters carry out daily rescue operations in this remote area. But there are not enough of them to reach every part of this vast province. At a relief camp in Dera Murad Jamali district, families get basic aid, but the emotional toll of this disaster is clear.
The water was this high. My husband and I picked up our children, but the water was flowing very strongly. We tried really hard to keep holding on to our children's hands. They kept slipping. My husband held my hand and kept telling me to stay strong, to keep walking and not to be scared.
And the fear now is that time is running out for some of those most desperately in need.
Muri Akine, coming up on One News, the good news for classic car lovers who care about the planet, but the bad news for your pocket, how much it'll set you back to clean up your old car, and the clever Kiwis recognised for their artistic and technical creativity at the Emmy Awards, keeping company with a former US president.
And then at 7, livestock being stolen from farms, why this modern-day rustling is affecting us all, plus how thinking outside the box has been bringing good news to the building industry.
And revealing the real message behind this controversial artwork. That's all coming up tonight at 7.
Tonight, we compare your local council charges.
What do you pay to register your dog?
And lost luggage when it's more than just a bag.
I feel like I'm not worthy anymore to look after my Māori taonga heirlooms.
Plus, how could this pistol under police protection go missing?
We're both frustrated about this.
Fair go, tonight on 1 and TVNZ Plus.
Birthday mega deals at No Liming. Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus from 1449. LG 65-inch premium television 3448 with bonus Xbox and delivery. Fisher & Paykel Combi front loader washer dryer 1989. Available at No Liming.
Take the next step to design inspired by nature. The next step to class-leading space. The next step to the future of mobility. All new Nero by Kia. Stepping into electric has never been easier.
The Harrison's 60th celebration sale is on, with up to 50% off top-selling carpet, hard flooring, curtain fabrics and blinds. Plus, get 4 years interest-free. Don't miss out on our biggest sale ever. Book online now. Harrison's Wonderful Made Easy.
The female stirs. Hungry, she searches for her next meal using all her senses. Ah, success.
Sea Lord Tuna, always there for you.
How do you measure living? Is it in quarter acres? Or is it in moments like these? Because this is living. This too. And this. Everything we plan and build is to make space for all of this. This is living.
I thought you might be hungry.
I am. Just what I felt like.
Coffee used to ruin my white smile. Not anymore, since I switched to Oral-B Lasting White toothpaste.